Hi, I'm Sarah from the Board Game BBQ, and today I'm looking at a game called Archmage. Archmage was sent to us by Starling Games to have a look at, and it was of particular interest to me because it's an area control game that uses some really cool spells in order to take control over the board and do horrible things to your opponents, and just sounded like my kind of game. So I tried it out, and I've got to say it's pretty awesome. So let's talk about it. The theme is that there is some convergence of an alignment of the stars happening, and it's happening soon. And so we're competing before that happens to see who is the next Archmage. And to signify that that is happening in the game, at the start of your turn, you actually move one of these little planets, so on your cool player board here, and that means you collect one of those resources depending on the color. So there's 6 different resources in the game, and they also align with the elements and your spells. So it's important that you manage these resources. So that's another part of this game, is resource management. So it's area control, resource management mostly. Okay, so after you've moved one of the planets and you've gathered that, I just realized it's not resources, it's relics in the game. So once you've grabbed a relic, then you can take your turn. And on your turn, you get 5 journey points, so you can move your mage, and they're all different. All the mages are different shapes, which is really cool. So you can move your mage up to 5 spaces. You can explore tiles. So at the moment, I've laid out the board so you can see everything, but previously you'd need to use a journey point to flip one of these tiles so you can see it. And we all start in the middle, and you just move around the board. Every time you move from one of these spaces, you can drop off one of your apprentices, and that's sort of the area control part of the game that starts to happen. You can see I'm controlling these areas and my opponent's controlling those. And then at journey's end phase, you will trigger some kind of event that happens on that particular tile, and there's a little reminder on each tile of what happens. If you're in a camp, you get to bring new followers from your bag, and you get to put them in your supply, which is really neat because your apprentices are not just helping you to control certain areas, but they will help you to learn new spells. So that's my favorite part of the game, and that happens on these spaces here and also on these special tiles here, here, and here. So what happens is you actually trade in for every 2 of something, the correct. So this guy here, you trade 2 orange and you get an apprentice. And then when you take this journey's end action at your tower, you can actually make these 2 apprentices dual, and then one of them is removed and then the other one stays there. And this is interesting because of 2 reasons. So when your apprentices are here, you actually take the appropriate spells for those sections. So you take the orange spell, which is Stone Skin, and you would take Torment. Oh, sorry, that's for the solo game. It's really cool. There's different spells for the solo game. Decay. You would take Decay and Stone Skin. So now they are my 2 base level spells, fundamental spells. And those are the ones that are available to me. Now when I end my journey in the tower, I can then train up these guys. They duel, and then one of them is killed in the duel and the other one moves up. And that means at the start of my next turn, I need to refresh my spellbook, which means getting rid of these 2, but gaining a more powerful combined orange and red spell. Sorry, not orange and red, orange and black spell. And then later, you will do a similar thing when you have these guys like this. You will then duel for a mastery, like a master level spell. Now, why do I like the spell so much? It's not just because of this really cool rondelle mechanic, which I've got to say is awesome, but it's also because these are really strong. They're really game-changing powers. I'll give you an example. The time spell, even at the base level, gives you 2 extra journey points, so 2 extra movement around the board. And movement around the board is very powerful because you're dropping off followers around as you go and claiming those areas. and of course they can be removed from your opponent, but even still 2 extra actions is huge. And that's just the base level. Then you get to these master level spells, and it can be things like obliterate. So I could, if I could cast obliterate here, and then these are all removed. And if there were more blue, they would all be removed from that area. So crazy powerful. And there's the great thing about this is when at first someone used that on me, I thought this is way too powerful and it's impossible to do anything about this. And then I got the Fortify Spell, which allowed me to put these little tokens to help me strengthen the areas that I have control of, and even a game-breaking rule of being able to put more barriers, more wards on these, so they're even harder to attack, so that when his mage comes along, that it costs 1, 2, 3 action points to get into that area, which is just not even really worth it. So everything is OP in this game, I guess, is the thing. And these spell cards look incredible. They're all foil. Look how they sparkle. They're really lovely. So this is a really interesting, different area control element. I cannot think of any other area control game that I've actually been able to cast spells and change the course of the battle. What the game reminds me of, and I haven't actually played this game, but I've only ever seen videos and heard it talked about, is Tyrants of the Underdark, which has a little bit of deck building in it, but it still uses card play to affect the map. The production value in this game, I've got to say, is incredible. Like these dual layer boards and this rondel system, it's really nice. This reminds me a little bit of Viscounts of the West Kingdom, because in Viscounts, I suppose you don't often lose the apprentices or the people off the castle, but what you do is you move them to the side, and there's a management in that you have to be careful of. And it's the same with the apprentices in this, because ideally you don't want to lose the ability or the knowledge of this spell, and so when you move them up, so what you want to do ideally is have extra apprentices that you can, then you can move this one up, and then you'll lose that one, and you will not lose the knowledge of these spells because you still have apprentices there. So the management of this board is really important. Of course, if there's some spell that you don't necessarily think you need, it doesn't go with your strategy, then by all means you don't have to worry about that as much. But ideally you would like to keep as many apprentices on this board as possible. And then there's also the management of the supply of your apprentices, because when they are killed, when people remove them from the board, they actually go in your supply. They don't go in your reserve. Your actual supply is only those that you've actually brought in from camps and things like that. So you have to make sure you manage those, because when they get short, you're traveling around the board and you're not able to actually drop anyone off, and it becomes really difficult. So the area control and the balancing of the apprentices on the board is really important in this game. I think it's an excellent game. Usually when I look at a game on BGG, I look at games that are 7+, and I noticed that Archmage, because I always look these things up, I noticed that Archmage is 6.8. I'm really surprised by this, to be honest with you. I think it's a very solid game. It's highly competitive and interactive and interesting, and as soon as someone gets a spell, like obliterate, for example, or upheaval, you need to you just change your strategy. You might go, I was going to go over there near them, but now I know that they have this, and I don't want to taunt them too much, so I'm going to go over here and do something else. And the scoring at the end of the game is really simple as well, which I like. You get 1 point for every apprentice that's in this outer circle, so basically every fundamental level spell that you know, and then you get 2 points for the more advanced ones, and then you get 4 points for the mastery of the spells. And then you look at the board, and if you've got majority of control on each kind of terrain, like for example ruins here, I have 1, 2, I have the most on ruins. So I would get 2 points for that, and my opponent here would get 2 points for libraries. Okay, well, say I had that, then they would get 2 points for the libraries, and so on, and you cover all those areas. So the scoring is super simple, and actually it's funny because they include a scoring pad. But I don't really think it's that necessary because it's quite easy. You can get negative VP as well. I know when I played this, I had my opponent had this horrible spell called Corrupt, which is the master level of this one actually, and they kept cursing my my little apprentices, and they had these horrible curse tokens on them, shown in the box somewhere, and so it meant that they were -1 negative point at the end of the game for each apprentice that was cursed. So that was pretty horrible. And the game goes for 12 rounds. As I said, you move the planets, and when they're all aligned in the middle here, then it's the end of the game, and you have this cool little tower. So it's quite a quick game as well. It's only 12 rounds, doesn't take very long. I like that the scoring, in terms of majorities, the scoring happens when on your turn you move your last disc into the last space. So that means that we might both score for libraries. So if I was there, for example, on the end of my 12th turn, I had the majority for libraries, or it was a tie, I would get some points for that. Whereas if at the end of Blue's turn he removed this one and then I had no longer had majority, then they would get the full points when they score. So that's really interesting. I like that as well. You're probably looking at this awesome tower in the middle. It doesn't do anything. It's just really cool, and I like the components a lot in this game. These little apprentice guys, they are so cute. I really like it. And yeah, just the foil cards, everything. It has this dreamy look to it. It's not like really vibrant colors. Like your player board's really vibrant colors, and then the board has this just dreaminess about it, and the buildings are really interesting. That's a grove, it doesn't have a building on it, but there are cool buildings like these ruins where the dwarves live, and it's all like cogs and steampunk-esque. That's really cool. And then you have like the crypt, which is this spooky, you know, mausoleum type thing with all these weird tentacle things coming out. I love the art in this. It's really nice, and I love that all the mage towers are different for each different mage. I think Archmage is a good game for people who like highly interactive games. It's mechanically very sound as well, so it has a Euro element to it in terms of the resource management. So there's a lot of strategy in this game. It's not simply about battling all the time. It's about knowing the spells as well, because someone might have something that's really powerful and does horrible things to you, but you can counter that if you know your spell deck. The downside of that, I guess, is that this is the kind of game that someone might play once and only once and not get a great impression of it. And I think that's probably due to the fact that they don't yet know the spells and how they work, and you could simply get obliterated pretty quickly if your opponent knows what spells they're going for and you haven't had a chance to go through what these spells do and what that could lead to in the game, because they are crazy powerful. So that's Archmage. I've really had a good time with this game. I think it's absolutely gorgeous, and it's a nice, quick, fun, interactive game with lots of mean moments and moments that you think that you're going to, you know, destroy your opponent, and then all of a sudden the tides change and they come back and just have an epic comeback and destroy you. So that has happened quite a bit, actually. So that's Archmage. Here is the beautiful box art. Whoever did the art for this, they know how to draw buildings. Seriously, they are so cool. So yeah, check it out. That's Archmage. Thank you for watching. This has been another Board Game Barbecue video. If you like our videos, please do like and subscribe, because we do a lot of different things. We've got the podcast, we've got the community, and we would like to know if people like these videos and whether we should do more of them. So please, yeah, do reach out to us and hit that bell if you want to be notified of more upcoming videos. Thanks, bye.